This conference will now be recorded.
చదివారా అది అబ్స్ట్రక్టివ్ జాండీస్? ఓ వంశీకృష్ణ చదివావా అబ్స్ట్రక్టివ్ జాండీస్? ఆ అమ్మాయి చదివిందా? ఓ అమ్మాయి చదివావమ్మా?
Yes, sir.
ఓకే, క్వశ్చన్ వేసేసి 2-3 క్వశ్చన్లు వేసేసి ఐ విల్ ప్రొసీడ్ టు ది పోర్టల్ హైపర్టెన్షన్. ఓకే, what are the urine findings in obstructive jaundice? యూరిన్ లో బైల్ చాల్స్ ఉంటాయా ఉండవా? బైల్ పిగ్మెంట్స్ ఉంటాయా ఉండవా?
Absent urinobulinogen.
యూరోబిలినోజన్ ఈజ్ యాబ్సెంట్. బైల్ సాల్ట్స్ ఉంటాయి, బైల్ పిగ్మెంట్స్ ఉండవు, బైల్ సాల్ట్స్ ఉంటాయి. ఓకే, and the urobilinogen will be absent. Okay. What are the 2 common causes of obstructive jaundice? There are so many causes which are given in the diagram. What are the 2 common causes?
Stones in common bile duct and periampullary carcinomas.
Periampullary carcinoma simultaneously head of the carcinoma, head of the pancreas కూడా చెప్పాలి. ఎందుకంటే head of the carcinoma, head of the pancreas is also equally common than periampullary carcinoma. So periampullary carcinoma, head of the pancreas. Both you have to say. Okay, what is the investigation of choice if it is due to CBD stones? Which investigation will be both diagnostic and therapeutic? Pama Kalyan, నువ్వు చదవాలయా? ఎప్పుడు ఎగ్జామ్ మీకు?
Sir, exam ki portion late, sir.
ఇంటర్నల్ అసెస్మెంట్ ఎప్పుడమ్మా?
24th నుంచి sir, August 24th.
ఈ మంత్ 24 నుంచి. సో కాబట్టి ఇప్పుడు నేనే క్వశ్చన్ పేపర్ ఇచ్చేది మొత్తం లివర్ ఇంటెస్టైన్ లోనే ఉంటాయి ఎక్కువగా. కాబట్టి బీ థరో విత్ ఆల్ దీస్ థింగ్స్.
సార్ జిఐటి లేదన్నారు సార్.
ఏంటి?
జిఐటి సిలబస్ లో లేదన్నారు సార్.
లేదన్నా, అంతకాడికి ఎందుకు క్లాసులు తీసుకోవటం?
Yes sir, GIT syllabus లో లేదు sir.
లేకపోయినా ఇంటెస్టైన్ అండ్ లివర్ లో ఉంటాయి. బికాస్ ఐఎమ్ గివింగ్ యూ ది పీపీటీస్ అండ్ ఐఎమ్ లిటిల్ బిట్ ఎక్స్ప్లెయినింగ్ అండ్ ఐఎమ్ ఆస్కింగ్ యూ టు రీడ్ టుడే ఇట్సెల్ఫ్. ఓకే, వద్దా అయితే జిఐటి?
టెక్స్ట్ బుక్ మొత్తం ఉంది సార్. యూరాలజీ జిఐటి తప్ప టెక్స్ట్ బుక్ మొత్తం సిలబస్ లో ఉంది సార్.
అవునా? అటైతే మరి అయితే మనం చెప్పిన 2 టాపిక్స్ లేవా? ఇంటెస్టైన్స్ అండ్ లివర్. సరే ఓకే, అయినా కానీ చదవండి, మిగిలిన టెక్స్ట్ బుక్ అంతా కూడా చదవండి. ఏం క్వశ్చన్లు ఏమంటారు? ఎస్ఏ క్వశ్చన్ చెప్పాలి. అప్పుడు మీరు ఆన్లైన్లో బర్న్స్ కానీ బర్న్స్, ఓన్ హీలింగ్, షాక్, అదేగా 3. ఇంకేమున్నాయి? వాటర్ అండ్ ఎలక్ట్రోలైట్ బ్యాలెన్సెస్, యాసిడ్ బేస్ బ్యాలెన్స్. అది ఇస్తే రాస్తారా? ఎలక్ట్రోలైట్ అండ్ యాసిడ్ బేస్ బ్యాలెన్స్ ఇస్తే ఎస్ఏ క్వశ్చన్ కష్టమా? ఓకే, అదర్ దాన్ జిఐటి అండ్ యూరాలజీ మొత్తం ఉందన్నమాట.
ఎస్ సార్.
లైపెడీమా అంటే ఏంటి చెప్పండి? లైపెడీమా అది ఇస్తాను క్వశ్చన్.
Accumulation of lipids.
Accumulation of లైపేడిమా, లింఫెడిమా కాదు, లైపేడిమా.
Accumulation of the fats under skin, sir. Limbs.
వెరీ గుడ్. మొత్తానికి అసలు పేరన్నా విన్నారు. ఇట్ ఈస్ గివెన్ ఓన్లీ ఇన్ బెయిలీ అండ్ లా. I think in no other book it is given. లైపిడేమో షార్ట్ క్వశ్చన్ ఇస్తే నేను కొంచెం రాయండి. ఓకే. వాట్ ఈస్ ది ఇన్వెస్టిగేషన్ ఇన్ అబ్స్ట్రక్టివ్ జాండీస్ ఫర్ CBD స్టోన్స్, బోత్ ఇన్వెస్టిగేటివ్ అండ్ థెరపటిక్? ఈ ఒక్క ముక్క చెప్పండి కదా.
ERCP.
వెరీ గుడ్. ERCP. ఎక్స్పాన్షన్ చెప్పమ్మా.
Endoscopic retrograde cholangiopancreatography.
So, ERCP, you know, it is just like gastroscopy, but it is side viewing tube. Side viewing tube ante gastroscopy lo the vision is at the tip of the gastroscope, whereas in case of this ERCP, it is at the side view, just above the tip. The view will be seen through which the cannula will be passed through the duodenal papilla into the common bile. Suppose there are any stones are there, and through that endoscopy baskets will be passed, or they, if they are small, they can be extracted by ERCP. So it is both therapeutic and. Then what is the treatment of this periampullary carcinoma? Periampullary carcinoma or carcinoma of the pancreas. Important name is there, goes by W. The initial letter is W. What is that operation?
Surgical resection, sir.
ఏంటి?
Periampullary and periampullary carcinoma surgical resection.
Yes, surgical resection. Periampullary carcinoma or carcinoma at the head of the pancreas, the treatment is surgical resection only. Then what is that name of that surgery? W తో స్టార్ట్ అవుద్ది. W తో.
Wilms operation.
Ripples operation. Very good question. That is very important. Okay. So with this, and some of the other procedures are also given, which are for rare conditions of the obstructive jaundice and for the rare operations. Okay, like Kashaya operation for biliary atresia, especially in children and all those things. And if it is not feasible to control all these things, suppose periampullary carcinoma and all those things, and the patient, what is the main complication of CBD stones? Cholangitis. So infection of the biliary system, cholangitis, and there will be septic shock and encephalopathy. So the first three are Charcot's triad, that is intermittent pain, fever and jaundice, and added to that septic shock because of the cholangitis and this mental status, encephalopathic symptoms, is called Raynaud's pancreas. ఈ పాయింట్ కొంచెం గుర్తుపెట్టుకోండి. ప్రొవైజర్స్ లా కూడా కంపల్సరీగా రాయాలి. అమ్మ నేను అర్థమైందా? వాట్ ఈస్ ఎక్సెప్షన్ ఫర్ ప్రొవైజర్స్ లా?
Double stone, sir.
One stone in the cystic duct, which causes dilatation of the gallbladder, and the other stone in the common bile duct, which causes obstructive jaundice. So, according to Purviser's law, if that is the obstructive jaundice is due to stone disease, the gallbladder should not be enlarged. Okay, should not be enlarged. Whereas in this case, if there are two stones, one in the cystic duct, the other in the common bile duct, there will be obstructive jaundice because of the stone in the common bile duct, and the gallbladder will be enlarged because there is a stone in the cystic duct. Because of that, the gallbladder will not be empty. So in the beginning, the bile will be present, that is enlarged gallbladder, and afterwards the bile will be absorbed and the gallbladder will secrete mucus. That is called mucosal of the
Mucosal
gallbladder.
of the gallbladder.
So we exceptions అన్ని చూసుకోండి. So now we will move on to portal hypertension. Portal hypertension మీకు మెడిసిన్ లో బాగా చెప్పారా? మెడిసిన్ అయిపోయిందా లివర్?
Yes, sir.
ఓకే, కాబట్టి కొన్ని క్వశ్చన్లు ఇక్కడ ఏమైనా వస్తే ఇవన్నీ అఫ్కోర్స్ ది పెథాలజీ పెథోఫిజియాలజీ ఇది మోస్ట్లీ మెడిసిన్. సో అందువల్ల మాకు కూడా కొంచెం కొత్తగా బికాస్ ఐఎమ్ నాట్ టేకింగ్ ఎనీ మెడికల్. బట్ ఎనీవే just let us go to the portal hypertension. And remember, this portal hypertension is having some 150 slides, but only the first 60 or 80 slides are related to the portal hypertension. The remaining slides are the management of the most important and dreaded complication of portal hypertension. What is that? What is the most dangerous complication of portal hypertension? What is the main triad of portal hypertension? Main triad of symptoms, signs? ఏంటమ్మా మెడిసిన్లు అయిపోయింది అన్నారు.
Esophageal varices.
So the dreaded complication of portal hypertension is esophageal varices, because of which there may be bleeding. There will be bleeding, which may be minute or torrential, where we cannot save the patient. Acute massive hemorrhage from the esophagus. So the second is ascites. Third one is splenomegaly. These are the three. Invariably they will be present in case of, apart from hepatic encephalopathy, there may be some amount of jaundice in some cases. What are other things? Fatal edema. So apart from all those things, these are the main things. Okay. The classical triad is esophageal varices, ascites, and splenomegaly. So the word portal hypertension was coined by the Gilbert and Carnat in 1902. It is a clinical syndrome which is characterized by pathological increase in portal venous pressure and by the formation of portosystemic collaterals that divert blood from portal system to systemic circulation. So this is the main pathology, because of which what will happen? Blood will not go into the liver and it directly enters the systemic circulation. So because of that, the blood will not be detoxified in the liver, and the patient will have encephalopathy apart from that. And because of this portal hypertension, all the collaterals of the portal systemic anastomosis will be open, giving rise to various pathologies. So there are so many words have been given here. The normal portal venous pressure is 5 to 10 millimeters of mercury. You remember this point, 5 to 10 millimeters. Of course, in some books it is given 5 to 7, in some it is 5 to 8. You remember 5 to 7 or 8, up to maximum it is 10 millimeters of mercury. The portal venous pressure measured at surgery must be, it will be more than 30 centimeters of water. 30 centimeters of water. WHVP అంటే ఏంటి? వెడ్జ్ హెపాటిక్ వీనస్ ప్రెషర్, డైరెక్ట్ వీనస్ పోర్టల్ ప్రెషర్. ఇది చెప్తే మీకేమైనా అర్థం అవుతుందో లేదో మొత్తం మర్చిపోతారో ఉంటారు. సో యూ జస్ట్ రిమెంబర్ ది పోర్టల్ వీనస్ ప్రెషర్ ఈస్ బిట్వీన్ 5 to 7 or 8 millimeters of mercury. If it is around 10 millimeters, then the portal systemic collaterals will be opening. And if it is more than 10, somewhere around 12, mainly the esophageal varices will bleed. And in splenic portal hypertension or sinistral or only splenic portal hypertension, the splenic pressure will be more than 15 millimeters of mercury. The wedge hepatic venous pressure and free hepatic venous pressure, normally ఈ పేర్లు మీరు ఎప్పుడైనా విన్నారమ్మా? See, normal portal pressure is 5 to 8. Portal hypertension is the persistent pressure elevation of more than 12 millimeters in the portal venous circulation. Dilatation of the portal vein to 13 millimeters. So normally the diameter of the portal vein is less than, it will be around 10 millimeters. So if it is dilated because of the portal hypertension, then all these things will happen. And increasing the portal pressure gradient more than 7 millimeters. In that slide, 5 millimeters, 7 millimeters. So different books give different, but you please remember, normal portal pressure is 5 to 8 millimeters. And the symptoms of, and the pathology will start at 10 millimeters of mercury. 10 millimeters. That means if it is more than 8, and at 10 millimeters of mercury, the portal hypertension pathology will start up. Okay. The portal pressure gradient ante the wedge hepatic venous pressure. Okay, by passing the catheter into the hepatic veins, first they will pass the catheter into the inferior vena cava. They will measure the pressure in the inferior vena cava. Then into the hepatic vein, they will measure the pressure into the in the hepatic veins, and from there they will negotiate into the portal system. So that is called portal venous pressure. So the difference between the portal pressure and the free hepatic venous pressure is called the gradient. మీరు చదవండి, ఇది అర్థం అవుతులే. See, hepatic venous portal gradient. Okay, hepatic venous portal gradient is wedge hepatic venous pressure. Ante wedge hepatic venous pressure ante the pressure in the venous sinusoids, that is the actual portal pressure, minus the pressure in the free hepatic venous pressure, ante in the pressure in the hepatic veins. So this is the pressure in WHVP is pressure in the sinusoids, and FHVP is pressure in the hepatic veins. So the difference is called hepatic venous pressure gradient. Okay. So it must be below, it is around 1 to 4 millimeters. If it is more than 5 millimeters, there will be portal hypertension. At pressure values of more than 20 millimeters of mercury, collaterals generally develop. No, actually it is around, if it is around 10 millimeters of mercury, because in the previous slide it is mentioned, and in many of the books it is mentioned, if it is more than 10 millimeters, the collaterals are about to open. And if it is more than 12 millimeters, the esophageal varices are ready to bleed. And of course, it may go up to 20 millimeters of mercury depending on the portal venous pressure gradient. Okay. So the portal hypertension can be pre-hepatic, hepatic, and post-hepatic. So in that, this wedge hepatic venous pressure and free hepatic venous pressures, whether they are normal or increased, which is increased and which is not increased, depending on the pre-hepatic portal hypertension. Hepatic portal hypertension, in that there are again 3: pre-sinusoidal, sinusoidal, and post-sinusoidal. And the other one is the post-hepatic portal hypertension. So that is just at the end of the portal hepatic veins and inferior vena cava. So this is how the pressures are measured. See, wedge hepatic venous pressure. So the cannula is passed to where? To here. That means this is the proper tissue of the, that is the sinusoids of the liver, from where they measure the wedge hepatic venous pressure, WHVP. And hepatic venous pressure is they measure in the hepatic veins. So normally the gradient is below 1 to 4 millimeters. And if it is more than 5, that means here it is increased. The resistance is increased in the wedge hepatic venous pressure. If it is more than 5, it is called portal hypertension. The other one is the measurement of the portal venous pressure extrahepatically. Portal venous pressure. Suppose there is any thrombosis in the portal vein or in the splenic vein, this pressure will be increased. Portal venous pressure extrahepatic. And this is the intrahepatic portal venous pressure, which is in the sinusoids. Okay. And again, I already told you there are 3 types in intrahepatic: post-sinusoidal, sinusoidal, and pre-sinusoidal. You just go through the diagram and you see the names. Okay. The pathological changes that will happen because of this portal hypertension and giving rise to portal hypertension. So this is, I want to tell you this extra portal vein, extrahepatic and intrahepatic, sinusoidal and post-hepatic. So in intrahepatic, both veins and sinusoids, and post-hepatic is hepatic veins and inferior veins. So this is the diagram which I wanted to show you the common causes. See, the extrahepatic portal venous cause for portal hypertension is the portal venous thrombosis. You remember this. Portal venous thrombosis. Okay. And the intrahepatic is the intrahepatic cause for portal hypertension is schistosomiasis. Schistosomiasis. Of course, other causes are also there. And the sinusoidal cause, the pressure in the sinusoids will be increased. The classical example is the cirrhosis. And in the post-hepatic portal hypertension, Budd-Chiari syndrome and veno-occlusive diseases. So these are the common causes of portal hypertension: portal vein thrombosis, schistosomiasis, cirrhosis, and Budd-Chiari syndrome. So these are the 4 common causes at 4 sites of the portal system. Of course, there are so many causes apart from the classical things I have seen. All the liver disease will be mentioned. You just go through and you just read. It will be very easy. Only thing you have to remember, all these things. You see, sinusoidal. First one is cirrhosis. Post-sinusoidal. See, veno-occlusive disease and hepatic vein thrombosis. That is Budd-Chiari syndrome. Okay, hepatic vein are in the vicinity of the hepatic veins where they are joining the inferior vena cava, there will be thrombosis. That is the Budd-Chiari syndrome. You remember these common things. And post-hepatic inferior vena caval web, tricuspid regurgitation. That means again from the heart, the reverse pressure. Constrictive pericarditis, tricuspid regurgitation, severe right-sided heart failure. When all these things are there, there will be stages of blood in the inferior vena cava, which is reflected into the hepatic veins. So there will be post-hepatic portal hypertension. So these things you have to be carefully read. You keep the diagrams and you read the text, then only you will remember the pathophysiology and the causes. Of course, this is again in another format: pre-sinusoidal, intrahepatic, post-sinusoidal, that is post-hepatic. You see, the common causes: pre-hepatic. Then, of course, in children, it is neonatal and childhood infections. Extensive compression by the pseudocyst of the pancreas and all those things. And intrahepatic is schistosomia. And of course, this is in the pre-sinusoidal, that is, it is within the liver. So here portal vein and splenic vein thrombosis will not come because it is within the liver. Pre-hepatic, intrahepatic, and intrahepatic cirrhosis is the common, schistosomiasis and cirrhosis. And post-sinusoidal, post-hepatic, Budd-Chiari and veno-occlusive disease. The same, but in a different form. So all of you know the portal vein, how it is formed? This I think I have already told you in anatomy. Portal vein, how it is formed? Chappalamma.
Clinic vein and superior mesenteric vein.
Yes, by joining the this splenic vein and superior mesenteric vein. Okay, so where is this confluence? Where it joins? Behind the pancreas. So it is behind the pancreas. The splenic vein joins the superior mesenteric vein, giving rise to this portal vein. This is the splenic vein. This is the superior mesenteric vein. And what is this? Inferior mesenteric. Inferior mesenteric vein joins the splenic vein. This is the normal course of the portal vein. We have the tributary, splenic, inferior mesenteric, left gastric, superior mesenteric, right gastric, and cystic vein. So this is the right gastric vein, and this is the left gastric vein, splenic vein, inferior and superior mesenteric. What is this? What is this? This one, what is this?
Inferior vena.
Inferior vein, into which the you see the renal vein is joined, inferior vein. Okay, portal vein will not join the inferior vein at all. Okay, portal vein directly goes into the liver. So this is all the total portal circulation in a different format. You remember the diameter of the portal vein is 1 centimeter. 1 centimeter. If it is more than this, that means because the pressure in the portal venous circulation, if there is a pressure, it will be dilated. So it will be somewhere around 1.2 centimeters, something like that. So in ultrasound, if the portal vein is more than 1.3 centimeters, you can suspect portal hypertension. So the other important thing, the diameter of the splenic vein is 0.45 centimeters. So it is also very important because some of the shunt operations will be based on this splenic vein. So this diameter is also important. So these are the total tributaries of the splenic vein, inferior mesenteric. This is the superior mesenteric. This is the portal vein. And you remember portal vein, the first vein that joins the portal vein is the left gastric vein. You remember, the left gastric vein is the first vein which joins the portal. That is the normal. Of course, ఇదంతా చెప్పాం కదా, left gastric vein, otherwise known as coronary vein, drains the lower end of the esophagus and lesser curvature of the stomach. ఈ anatomy చదవండి అమ్మా. And this is some little variation of the hepatic portal vein. What is the variation here in this? Can you identify the variation here?
Inferior mesenteric vein joins splenic vein actually, but it is joining superior mesenteric vein here.
No, it is not joining superior, it is directly joining the portal.
IVC. Portal vein.
It is joining portal. Whereas in this case, the inferior mesenteric vein is joining the superior mesenteric. Okay, these are the variations. All these things you have to, they are very important at the time of surgeries. The common variations that can happen with the portal vein. Of course, this is standard. There will not be any variation in this, except these vessels will be coming and joining. There will be some slight variation, but the portal vein of 1 centimeter is standard. This is the left portal vein, and this is the right portal vein. So this is not variable, but the formation and the vessels joining the portal vein may be a little variable. And the hepatic artery, because the liver is having dual supply, hepatic blood flow averages 1500 ml per minute. That is 25% of the cardiac. That means liver is having extensive blood supply. 25% is from the hepatic artery, 25 to 30, and 70 to 80% is from the portal vein. Remember, the majority of the blood supply to the liver is from the portal vein. Okay, but what is the difference between the blood of the portal vein and blood of the hepatic artery? Both are going to the liver. The portal vein is rich in
Nutrients.
nutrients because it is draining all the lymph and nutrients from the intestines. Whereas this hepatic artery is rich in oxygen because it is from the systemic circulation, oxygen. But in spite of that, 50% of the oxygenation of the liver is from hepatic artery flow and 50% is from the portal blood. Okay, whereas blood supply is 75 to 80% is from the portal venous circulation and 25%, 20 to 25% is from the hepatic. Okay. Okay, all these things, and the important thing which you have to remember in the portal hypertension is the sites of portosystemic collateral circulations. So one is the most important. One is the one. What is this? Between the lower end of the esophagus, left gastric and short gastric veins with the azygos vein, resulting in esophageal varices, the common. So here, this is the left gastric vein and short gastric veins. They join with the azygos veins, which is a part of systemic circulation. So here is one portosystemic anastomosis. This is the main culprit in portal hypertension, giving rise to esophageal varices and bleeding. And the second one is the Caput medicae. Caput medicae. Have you heard? Yes. The umbilicus, at the umbilicus between the paraumbilical vein and the anterior abdominal vein. That is circumflex, superficial and deep epigastric veins. So this is the place where they join as the umbilicus, and clinically it is evident in portal hypertension as the Caput medicae. Third one is the lower end of the rectum, where the superior hemorrhoidal vein, this is the superior hemorrhoidal, divides into left and right branches. It joins with the middle and inferior hemorrhoidal. So they are the middle and inferior hemorrhoidal veins. This is a plexus involvement of this giving rise to pipes. Okay. The fourth one is there are a lot of, this is the fourth one, not two. This is the fourth one. There will be a lot of water system communications in the retroperitoneum. And fifth one is the bare area of the liver. So bare area of the liver is, what is bare area? It is a part of the liver where there is no peritoneal covering. Okay. So that is in the posterior aspect. So there also some of the veins of the liver, they will communicate with the diaphragmatic and mediastinal vein. So they are the 5 portosystemic anastomosis, because you have to draw this diagram in the examination, and they are giving rise to various symptoms and signs in the portal hypertension. So the same in different form. You see, this is the left gastric vein and short gastric vein. They are joining with the azygos veins. And second one is the paraumbilical vein. The umbilical vein is joining with the epigastric veins, giving rise to Caput medicae in the as a clinical feature. Third one is at the rectum, giving rise to pipes. Fourth one is in the retroperitoneum, where there will be veins of various veins in the retroperitoneum. Say, for example, from the kidney or from retroperitoneal abdominal vessels, they will join with the portal veins. And fifth one is at the bare area of the liver on the posterior surface, where the portal veins will communicate with the mediastinal and diaphragmatic veins. So these are the 5 pathways of water. All these things will be dilated in case of portal hypertension because the back pressure. Normally they will be collapsed. They will not be, because this will not be, normally it will be existing, but it will not be dilated and it will be efficient. And blood will be going like this into the portal venous, into the liver. Suppose there is any pressure in the portal hypertension, because the portal hypertension, there will be reverse of the blood. Because all these things there will be reverse of the blood, giving rise to this esophageal varices, piles, and caput medusae. And there may be retroperitoneal bleedings and all those things can rarely. But main clinical things are esophageal varices, caput medusae, umbilicus, and the hemorrhoids. So what happens? So all these things, because of the back pressure, see, because of the back pressure, all these things will be the same thing. Resistance to portal venous flow at any site leads to increased pressure in the portal system, resulting in opening of collaterals at various sites of water systemic communications. Like esophageal, lower end of the esophagus has varices, at the rectum and anal canal has the piles, at the umbilicus has caput medusae. Okay, and retroperitoneal area and bare area where there will not give any specific signs and symptoms, but they are there. So one thing you have to remember, sinistral portal hypertension or left-sided portal hypertension. In this case, isolated splenic vein thrombosis. See? So there will be splenic vein thrombosis. So blood from there, it will not go into the portal and into the liver. So what will happen? So from the splenic vein, what are the other vessels? Spleen is drained into the short gastric veins, and all those things will be dilated, and especially giving rise to gastric varices. So in splenic vein thrombosis, mainly gastric varices is common, not esophageal varices. Gastric varices are very common because in splenic vein thrombosis, it may be due to chronic pancreatitis or pancreatic malignancies or trauma. So portal hypertension due to splenic vein thrombosis is called left-sided portal hypertension or sinistral portal hypertension. You remember this. Sometimes it may be asked as a short notes. Sinistral portal hypertension, because they want to mislead you. So sinistral portal hypertension is nothing but splenic vein thrombosis giving rise to portal hypertension as a left. So once you suspect the portal hypertension because of various complaints and signs and symptoms, you have to evaluate the patient. So for what is the underlying liver disease? The estimation of the hepatic liver reserve, because how much liver is damaged. Because of portal hypertension, there will be fibrosis finally. For example, the cause for portal hypertension is cirrhosis. So it causes a lot of fibrosis. So what is the remaining functional reserve of the hepatic of the liver? And definition of portal venous anatomy and hepatic hemodynamic evaluation and identification of the site of upper gastrointestinal hemorrhage. So the site of upper gastro, the patient is complaining of hematemesis and melena. So there are other causes for upper gastrointestinal. Suppose once the patient is having upper gastrointestinal bleeding, we have to suspect what is the commonest cause of upper gastrointestinal bleeding. Japandi? What is the commonest cause of upper gastrointestinal bleeding?
Peptic ulcers.
Peptic ulcer. So ఎప్పుడైనా కానీ పెప్టిక్ అల్సర్ అనేటప్పుడు మెయిన్లీ డ్యూయోడినల్ అల్సర్ అని చెప్తాను. ఓకే, chronic duodenal ulcer. Duodenal ulcer, peptic ulcer in the duodenum. That is the main culprit both for perforation and for the bleeding. Of course, gastric ulcer, gastric erosive gastritis also can bleed, but the commonest cause is from the duodenal ulcer. Either all the complications of peptic ulcer is mainly occurring at the duodenum. So it is not duodenal bleeding from the duodenal ulcer or gastric ulcer or erosive gastritis. So it is from the esophageal varices. So you have to differentiate. So what is the source of, because the patient is complaining of hematemesis and many. So you have to differentiate what is the source of the upper gastrointestinal. So liver disease, reservoir the remaining liver hepatic reserve, and portal venous anatomy and the radicals and all those things, and how the hepatic venous dilatation is hepatic venous circulation, the hemodynamics we have to assess, and the source of upper gastrointestinal hemorrhage. So it is a multidisciplinary approach which has hepatologist, gastroenterologist, radiologist, surgeon, everybody must be there. Otherwise, the patient will be doomed. Because, for example, we are the surgeons, we can just do operation. Then what about the parameters? That is the preoperative assessment, intraoperative care, postoperative thing, and all those things. And sometimes these portal hypertension requires interventions, and it requires good CT scan and MRI, good radiologist, okay, and critical anesthetist and critical care staff, because the final treatment is shunt operations for portal hypertension. And still more, the most final treatment is the transplantation. So it requires a lot of team approach. A very good team approach is essential for the management of portal hypertension. Of course, history and physical examination, you know this, weight loss, malaise, weakness, and past history of alcoholism will be there in case of cirrhosis, and sometimes hepatitis. Hepatitis also will give rise to cirrhosis and this portal hypertension, and complicated biliary diseases and exposure to hepatotoxin. So many drugs, because in the list what I have given in the previous slides, so many hepatotoxins will give rise to this portal hypertension. We have to take history of drug history and all those things we have to take. So these are all the clinical findings. Hepatomegaly or atrophic liver cirrhosis. Remember, in portal hypertension, usually liver is not palpable. By the time portal hypertension occurs, the main cause is due to cirrhosis, in which liver is not palpable. It may be mildly enlarged in the beginning, but usually the liver will not be enlarged, whereas spleen will be palpable. Portal hypertension, splenomegaly, spleen will be palpable, ascites will be present. Okay. And skin stigmata of liver disease like petechial hemorrhages and all those things, anorectal varices, ascites, testicular atrophy and gynecomastia because of hormonal imbalance of estrogens and testosterone, muscle wasting, repeating contracture, congested neck veins, venous pattern on the surface of the abdomen, that is Caput Mare's, venous hum. What is that? Cruel here boom got in, cruel here boom got hum. So all these things will be present because there are the medical terms you have to go through. So all the things or any of the things can be present in portal hypertension, and most of the times portal hypertension, because until it manifests, the common manifestation is, what is the common manifestation of portal hypertension? Bleeding.
Tired.
Yes, esophageal varices is a common presentation. Second one is ascites and splenomegaly, and little complications are, of course, in some patients the hemorrhoids might be a big problem. So all these things can occur. Ascites, splenomegaly, and esophageal varices. Of course, Caput medicine and all those things can be present. See, these are all the signs in splenomegaly, esophageal varices, ascites, testicular atrophy, Caput medicine, and because of the deranged hepatic circulation, and then there will not be any proper detoxification of the toxins that are observed from the gastrointestinal tract, especially the ammonium products. It will cause the hepatic encephalopathy, any other things. And because of the cirrhosis, there will be ascites, but liver is not palpable, whereas spleen is grossly enlarged. These are the characters. Splenomegaly, ascites, classical features, and Caput medicine are classical features of this portal hypertension. Of course, you see there is a little description of all these things. Varices, Caput medicine. Caput medicine is due to Hypermedia is due to hypermedia can be asked as a short answer, 2 marks question, either in the surgery, especially in the medicine. So it is due to portal hypertension, portal opening, because the para-umbilical vein with the epigastric veins. So in the umbilical vein will be coming from the liver, and there will be in the abdomen there will be epigastric vein, superficial and deep epigastric vein. So there will be anastomosis of the umbilicus which are open, giving rise to caput medicine like this. Of course, ascites, which will be described very clearly in the medicine, is a simple thing. Accumulation of fluid in the peritoneal cavity. It may be due to impaired venous outflow or hepatic congestion and altered mechanics. All these things are better you can read in the medicine. So this is the ascites. What sign will be there in the, what is the sign you elicit for the fluid in the abdomen? And especially when there is a
Fluid thrill and shifting dullness.
Fluid thrill.
Fluid thrill maatrame. Shifting dullness for the minimal fluid. At a minimal and a moderate fluid. This is because you see, this is a gross ascites is there. So only fluid thrill will be present. Okay. Shifting dullness is only the fluid is in the flanks. So for this gross ascites, the quantity is more than 2 liters and 3 liters. For shifting dullness, it is 1.7 liters. And the most minimum. So shifting dullness is for moderate fluid. This is gross fluid, fluid thrill. For moderate fluid, shifting dullness. And for the minimal fluid, what sign you will do? Examination of abdominal
Fluid sign.
around the umbilicus, where there will be dullness to identify the medial, minimal fluid. So this gynecomastia is due to improper imbalances of the because the estrogens and all those things will not be effectively destroyed by the liver because the portal hypertension and deviation of the blood, and the male patients will develop this gynecomastia. Gynecomastia is also important. So one of the causes is portal hypertension and cirrhosis. Remember this. Very short, important short. And hypersplenism naturally occurs because of the increased portal pressure, and all the spleen will be increased. What is hypersplenism and splenomegaly? What is the difference? Hypersplenism ki splenomegaly ki difference evarani cheppagalra? So the splenomegaly with cytopenia. So the splenomegaly with destruction of the all blood cells. So both RBC, platelets, and W will be destroyed in the splenomegaly, which is enlarged. That is enlarged. So that syndrome is called hypersplenism. So hypersplenism is splenomegaly with the destruction of the all blood elements, blood cells. Okay, that you have to keep in mind. Apart from there will be some other things will be there. See, the criteria for hypersplenism is WBC will be less than 4,000 millimeters per cubic millimeter, less than 4,000 per cubic millimeters, and platelets will be less than 1 lakh per cubic. So all the cells will be destructed, and of course the RBC also will be decreased because of the hypersplenism. So splenomegaly with destruction of blood cells is called hypersplenism. And the other important thing is hepatic encephalopathy. I already told you, because the blood is not going through the toxins that are absorbed from the gastrointestinal tract. They are not going into the portal circulation because the portal hypertension, and it will contain the toxins, especially the hyperammonemia and this intoxication will give rise to this hepatic encephalopathy. That is, And other things apart from ammonia, other things like mercaptans, short chain fatty acids, and phenols also will be there. These are all toxic materials which are detoxified in the liver. For example, ammonia is detoxified into urea, which will be secreted in the blood and it will be excreted by the kidneys. Okay, in the urine and kidney, by the kidneys. So that is how all these things, apart from ammonia, this mercaptans, short chain fatty acids, phenols, which will not be detoxified, they will directly enter into the systemic circulation and to the brain, giving rise to encephalopathy, mood disturbances, and all those things, ataxia, slurred speech, and all those things, and in serious cases, coma and shock. So the precipitants of hepatic encephalopathy, this is a short important question in medicine. Not but for completion sake, it is given in important hypertension. Increase nitrogen load. For example, those patients should not take plenty of non-vegetarian foods and calculate metabolic imbalances, some drugs, infections, and portal systemic shunt operations. So when the portal systemic shunt operations for portal hypertension, so the blood will not be going into the, they are called non-selective shunt operations. They are not going into the liver. So the blood that is in the portal vein will directly enter into the systemic circulation by the shunt operations, and there are more chances for encephalopathy. This will come in the treatment. So by this, what are the important investigations and for the diagnosis of portal hypertension? ఎవరు చెప్తారు? You have seen the pathophysiology of this.
Routine blood investigations అన్ని చేస్తాం.
Very good. Routine blood investigations, because there is splenomegaly and hypersplenism. So TC, DC, ESR, anemia, hematocrit, they might be decreased. Okay. అవి కాకుండా liver function test కూడా చేయాలి కదా, because this is mainly the disease of the liver. All liver function tests will be altered. Okay. So liver function test కూడా చేయాలి. What else? The tumor markers. The tumor markers like calcium embryonic antigen, alpha fetoprotein, and all those things, and tumor markers, and especially the markers for hepatitis, A, B, C, and all those things are very important, because hepatitis is another cause which give rise to cirrhosis and portal hypertension. So all the markers for the hepatitis viruses must be undertaken. So finally, liver biopsy, and the almost all the investigations. And what is the common investigation for abdomen? First investigation,
Ultrasound.
ultrasound. So you can see in the ultrasound the liver is shrunken, the spleen is grossly dilated, and all those things. And by doing Doppler ultrasound, you can see the dynamics of the portal and hepatic circulation likewise. So the investigations, laboratory evaluation, all hematological, liver function test, and coagulation profile. Why it is important? Viral markers. That is
Hepatic thrombosis.
Why coagulation profile?
Thrombosis, sir. Any thrombosis, sir. Clotting factor.
Yes, because liver is the main site for synthesis of coagulation factors,
2, 5,
especially
9.
2, 7, 9, and 10. Right? So these that is vitamin K dependent. All those things will be disturbed in portal hypertension. So the PTINR, PTT, all those things will be increased. So why they are important? Not for the diagnosis, especially for the shunt operations or any surgery. All these parameters must be known. So in general, these are all the investigations you have to do. So ultrasonography, where you have to do this. All these things, Doppler ultrasonography, where it helps in establishing the diagnosis of Budd-Chiari syndrome. What is Budd-Chiari syndrome? Hepatic veins are inferior vena cava. The thrombosis of the hepatic veins and the immediate vena cava is known as Budd-Chiari syndrome. It is a post-hepatic cause for portal hypertension. It is also post-hepatically, this is the common. And CT, spiral CT, all those things are to be done. And the most important for is the, and as such for portal hypertension, nothing is necessary. The patient may not come to us unless the signs and symptoms of portal hypertension. Suppose he has developed ascites, he will come to us. Or he has developed hematemesis and melena, he will come to us. Or he has seen bleeding per rectum, he will come to us. What is the cause for that piles? Of course, this is not common cause for piles, but he will come to us. And he will come with the ascites and capillarities, or he will come with weakness and drowsiness and all those things. So, unless there are symptoms, portal hypertension itself will not do any problem. But after some time, portal hypertension will be increasing and it will give rise to all the signs and symptoms which we have described earlier. And of course, liver function test, bilirubin, SGOT, SGPT. SGOT ante AST, I am getting SGP ante ALT, alkaline phosphatase. Of course, all these things will have to be done. Why liver? You have to assess what is the status of the liver function in the given scenario and how the patient will sustain for surgery. Okay, whether he is having the capacity to undergo safely the surgery, safety of the surgery is very important. What are the scoring systems? What are the scoring systems for the fitness for surgery depending on the liver function tests? ఇంకా చదవాలా అయితే ఫస్ట్ డే అని చెప్పాను కదా, ఇందులో కూడా వస్తుంది.
Child pug score.
Complete blood counts, antibodies, markers, viral markers, and for Wilson's disease and hemochromatosis. And they are rare causes for portal hypertension, in which there you have to do copper and ceruloplasmin and all those things. Ferritin, transferrin, ceruloplasmin, antitrypsin, all these things are depending on the cause. These are the common in portal hypertension in children. And the important scoring systems for is the child puffs scoring system. Child puff, PUGH, puffs modification of child scoring system. Of course, that also will come now. And the third one is, so that will give the whether the patient is fit for surgery or whether the patient can withstand the surgery and how the outcome will be. So all these things will be assessed preoperatively by this liver function test. Okay, and the second important investigation is the variceal bleeding. So for variceal bleeding, the important investigation is, what is this? Endoscopy. No, endoscopy. Right. We have the esophageal varices. So in esophageal varices, so because that is the main dreaded complication of the portal hypertension, where it will be the varices will rupture and there will be torrential hemorrhage and there will be massive hematemesis. The patient may collapse. So it requires a lot of effort to save the patient. And if it is rupture of one varicosity like this, there will be slight hematemesis. And the patient will be relatively safe. And if all the varices will rupture simultaneously, because the more portal hypertension and increased portal venous pressure and increase in the pressure of the collateral portal systemic collaterals, there will be torrential hemorrhage and hematemesis. They will be very difficult to save the patient. So the endoscopy, size of the varices, extent of varices, and risk factors for rupture. They are called red color signs. See, for example, areas of, these are the varices. You can see the areas of congestion, streaks, all these things. That means they are signs of threatening rupture. See, this is how esophageal varices are graded. See, diameter less than 5 millimeters. See, these are the varices. Diameter less than 5 millimeters. And this is the diameter more than, it is between 5 and 10 millimeters, and is more than 10 millimeters. You see, they are occupying the entire circumference of the lower end of the esophagus. So, more, you see the red signs. See, there are areas already critical hemorrhage like things. There, they are about to rupture. So, this varices is about to rupture. Okay, this is the grading of the esophageal varices depending on the diameter and the occupying the circumference of the esophagus. For example, you can see here the entire circumference of the esophagus occupied by the many of the varices. And the other one is the portal gastropathy. So that is portal gastropathy is nothing but gastropathy and gastric varices. Remember, varices will occur both in the esophagus because of the coronary vein or left gastric vein and azygos vein, and in the stomach also because from the splenic vein there will be short gastric arteries and short gastric veins will be there. So those veins also will get dilated because of the portal hypertension, and that will give rise to gastric varices. You see, this is the hypertensive, portal hypertensive gastropathy. So just you can see the erosions and minute ulcers. This is called portal gastropathy, edematous mucosa and all. So the stomach changes, the gastric changes in portal hypertension are number one is hypertensive gastropathy, and number two is the gastric antral venous ectasia, GAVE syndrome. See, gastric antral venous ectasia. So at the antrum, ectation is dilatation or the venous plexus in the gastric antrum due to portal hypertension. Synonym is watermelon stomach. You see, just like watermelon stomach. So that is GAVE. ఈ అబ్రివేషన్లు అప్పుడప్పుడు మిస్లీడ్ చేయడం ఎగ్జామ్స్ ఇస్తుంటారు. సో gastric antral venous ectasia. So it is not at the upper end of the stomach, it is at the antrum, GAVE. Okay, the synonym is watermelon stomach. And third one is the varices. So you can see they are not esophageal varices, they are the gastric varices. So the gastric varices are common in the fundus, cardioesophageal junction. At the cardioesophageal junction and just above the junction in the lower third of the esophagus, they are esophageal varices. So beyond cardioesophageal junction into the fundus, they are called gastric varices. So portal gastropathy, so esophageal varices are divided depending on the size of the varices and encroachment in the circumference of the esophagus. Whereas portal gastropathy is divided into hypertensive gastropathy, GAVE syndrome or watermelon stomach, and gastric varices. So they are the main pathologies of the gastric. So all these things can be diagnosed by this by endoscopy. So other common investigation is the ultrasound and Doppler. Already told you, ultrasound you can see the liver size, echo density, portal vein visualization, size, and any pathology in the portal vein. If you add Doppler, you can see the variations with respiration and hemodynamics, ascites, collaterals, splenomegaly. All these things can be verified in ultrasound of the abdomen with the Doppler. And the sonography is very important. Splenomegaly itself indicates that there is a portal hypertension and dilatation of the portal vein. So the normal venous Diameter is, portal vein diameter is, already told you, 10 millimeters. If it is more than 13 millimeters, you can say that the portal vein is, there is portal hypertension. This is a finding in Doppler ultrasound of the abdomen. And dilatation of the splenic vein more than 10 millimeters. So normally it will be, what is the size? 0.45 millimeters. Already shown in the previous slide, the anatomy diagram. So if it is doubled, like more than 10 millimeters, then there is a portal hypertension. And dilatation of the ventricular coronary vein more than 6 millimeters. Coronary vein, that is the left gastric vein. And if it is more than 6 millimeters, and this is called, so all these criteria, they suggest portal hypertension. Visible evidence of cholesterol, recanalization of the umbilical vein. Suppose if you see, normally the umbilical vein is obliterated, but it will be open in portal as a portal systemic anastomosis in portal hypertension and cavernous transformation of the portal vein. All these things can be verified in the ultrasound Doppler, and you can diagnose the problem. And of course, the other important thing is CT scan and MRI. As usual, you can see the architecture of the MRI is better for blood vessel imaging than CT scan. So CT scan is for the mainly for the liver parenchyma, liver pathology, and for the vessels, MRI. Of course, vessels also can be seen in CTA, but MRI gives the better. So what do you understand? Almost all the investigations will be done for any case. That is the beauty of our surgery. So GIT అనగానే all these investigations, CRCT అన్ని ఏదనుకుంటే రాసేసేయచ్చు. Okay, CT scan, contrast enhanced CT scan, spiral CT scan, MRI and angiography ఏదనుకుంటే అది రాసేసేయచ్చు. అది అనగానే వచ్చిన angiography, direct splenophotography, indirect splenophotography, hepatic vein phlebography, others. So all these things, umbilical photography, all these things can be done to see the circulatory pattern of the portal circulation. So if there is any obstruction or if there are any alteration in the architecture of these vessels, you can suspect the portal hypertension. Of course, these are very rarely done, but for completion sake, you have to mention all these things. So this is a normal anatomy of the portal venogram. This is the renal vein. This is splenic vein, which is coming from the spleen. Splenic vein joined by the superior mesenteric vein, there is the portal vein. The diameter of the portal vein is 10 millimeters. If it is more, and the diameter of the splenic vein is 0.45 or 0.5 millimeters, 0.5 centimeters or 5 millimeters, around 5 millimeters. This is 10 millimeters. And if it is increased, you have to suspect portal hypertension. So, and the things, the angiography can be done whether to superior mesenteric vein or to inferior mesenteric vein or to splenic vein or to directly to the portal vein and all those things. The various modifications which we have described in the from the one of the mesenteric veins also you can enter into the portal vein, or from the umbilical vein, or transhepatic splenophotography. So various routes where you can enter the portal circulation, inject the dye and take the fillings. And this is very gold standard, very important investigation. So all these things are indirect evidences. But directly what is happening, portal hypertension is increase in the portal vein. So wedge hepatic venous pressure అంటే ఏంటి? This is actual pressure in the sinusoids, portal sinusoids. So minus free hepatic venous pressure, that is pressure in the hepatic veins. The difference is called hepatic venous portal gradient, hepatic portovenous gradient, hepatic venous portal gradient. So HVPG, this is very important. Already told you, normal is 1 to 4 millimeters, and if it is more than 5 millimeters, more than 8 millimeters, collaterals and ascites will develop. If it is more than 12 meters, what is this? HVPG. More than 12 millimeters, there will be variceal bleed. So this I have shown you in the measurement of various pressures. So this is gold standard. This is directly giving the pressure values, but very difficult to perform. But they are more cumbersome. So, but this is the gold standard, which will give the direct evidence of increased pressure in the portal system and for all the signs and symptoms. So, child prognostic indicators, ఈ టేబుల్ ని బట్టి పెట్టాలి మీరు. మెల్డ్ స్కోర్, మెల్డ్ అంటే ఏంటి? MELD అంటే ఏంటి? చైల్డ్ పఫ్ అంటే పఫ్స్ మోడిఫికేషన్ ఆఫ్ చైల్డ్ స్కోర్. ఈ టేబుల్ మొత్తం బట్టి పెట్టేసేయాలి. 5 parameters will be taken: encephalopathy, ascites, bilirubin, albumin, prothrombin. All of these are functions of the liver. Okay, so they will be given 1, 2, 3 marks, points, and final score is, if it is between 5 and 6, if it is between, see, if the score is between 5 or 6 points, it is a low risk. That is called child's A. And child's child puffs B is moderate risk, 7 to 9 points. And child's C is high risk, more than 10 to 15 points. Maximum is 15, that can occur. See, these are the things. Encephalopathy none, 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 grades. Encephalopathy grades are only. Ascites none, mild or moderate. Bilirubin. So, if it is 1 to 2 milligrams, normal is above, around 1 or below 1. And if it is 1 to 2, it is given 1 point, 2 to 3, 2 points, more than 3, 3 points. Albumin, more than 3.5 grams, it is 1, and 2.8 to 3.5 is 2, less than 2.8, it is 3. That means the albumin is decreasing, so the score is increasing. And prothrombin time, PTINR, what is the normal PTINR? From 12 to 16 minutes. Okay, 12 to 16 minutes. Sorry, 12 to 16 seconds. So that is the prothrombin time, PT. So PTINR is the prothrombin time of the candidate is compared to the international standard. So any increase in the prothrombin time between 1 to 4 is 1 point, between 4 to 6 is 2 points, and in more than 6 is 3 points. That means, so if the patient is having all 5 threes, then the maximum score possible is 5 into 3, 15. That means child puffs 3 C. Child puff C, which is a very serious disease, and less severe and least severe. So these are the 5 criteria. MELD is model for end-stage liver disease. This is also there is a big formula for that. 0.957 into log creatinine. Creatinine ante telusu kada. What is the normal creatinine?
0.6 to 1.2.
1.2. Very good. So that is log of serum creatinine. And 0.378 log of bilirubin. Bilirubin is normal. What is present in the normal is below 1. So what is present in the patient in the condition? The bilirubin and INR, bilirubin, creatinine. So with this, with the log figures and all these criteria, they will estimate the MELD. Model for end-stage liver disease. Remember, MELD score is mainly to see the functional results. These are the 2 criteria which give whether how much liver is functional, what procedure the patient requires, and whether the patient will sustain or withstand the surgery or not, and whether the patient requires transplantation. All these things are deranged. Finally, you replace the liver by OLT, orthotopic liver transplantation, or some transplantation. So these are the prognostic indicators for portal hypertension, or for obstructive jaundice, or for any liver disease, encephalopathy, and all those things. Once you do this criteria, 5 criteria, this will be come by liver function test. Encephalopathy is by signs and symptoms of encephalopathy. You grade and you measure the MELD score, you assess the severity of the condition and the required surgery and the prognosis. So child of A is 0 to 5 mortality, B grade is 10 to 15 mortality, and if it is say greater than 25% mortality, greater than 25% mortality. Suppose the patient number, that means C means 10 to 15 points of child class. So that means the patient is very seriously, the liver is parameter seriously deranged, and the mortality risk is 25% if you don't take proper care in management of the cases. And our idea is you decrease the, just like in tumors, to downgrade. So suppose the patient has come to you with C, you try to control by resuscitation and various measures, you bring it to B or if possible A, where the mortality can be reduced by the. And of course, these are the other quantitative measures of hepatocellular function, such as galactose elimination capacity, aminoferrin blood test, indocyanine green clearance, hepatic clearance of amino acid clearance test. And so many tests are there. All these things are important because there are so many diseases are causing portal hypertension. All these things are we are not doing because the common manifestations of portal hypertension is esophageal varices, ascites, splenomegaly. So we are mainly concentrating on the diagnosis and management of esophageal varices, and management of ascites, and management of the splenomegaly and hypersplenia. And if it is due to rare diseases like Wilson's disease, Crigler-Najjar disease, or Rotor syndrome, and all those things, then they require all these tests, and the treatment will be complicated, especially in the portal hypertension in neonates and infants and children. All these tests will be required. So finally, the management. So management, pharmacotherapy, balloon tamponade, and finally endoscopic therapy by sclerotherapy and banding. TIPS has been asked as a short question. చాలా మందికి ఆ ఎక్స్పాన్షన్ కూడా తెలియలేదు. Not to be careful. TIPS. Surgery. So in surgery, portosystemic shunts, devascularization procedures, and finally liver transplant. Okay, this is the main management protocol of the, depending on the severity, depending on the presentation. Suppose the patient comes with ascites, you have to specifically take up the management of ascites and the surgery is required for the management of ascites. Okay, suppose the patient comes with, see, you can see in this most of the things, the main complication of portal hypertension is esophageal varices. That's why all these things are for the esophageal varices. And if they don't think, then they have to finally go for surgery. Okay, thanks Amma. Thank you, Kalyan. ఈ పీపీటీ కూడా పంపిస్తాను, ఇది కూడా చూడండి. ఓకే సార్ వచ్చారు.
ఓకే సార్.
థ్యాంక్స్ తర్వాత కొన్ని ఎక్స్ట్రా స్లైడ్స్ ఉంటాయి, దట్ ఈస్ ఫర్ ది మేనేజ్మెంట్ ఆఫ్ esophageal bleeding. So once you go through these PPT slides, you will know. And so next class వచ్చేసి మనం we will take up ఏంటమ్మా hepatic tumors and portal hypertension.
లివర్ ట్యూమర్స్ తీసుకుంటాను సార్.
అదే hepatic tumors, liver tumors, HCC. అది రేపు నెక్స్ట్ క్లాస్. అది దీంట్లో ఈ మేనేజ్మెంట్ మీద క్వశ్చన్స్ చేస్తాం. ఓకే, యూ ప్లీజ్ గో త్రూ ది, ఇప్పుడే ఎవరికైనా ఈ క్లాస్ అయిపోతానే యూ గో త్రూ ది రిమైనింగ్ స్లైడ్స్, యూ విల్ అండర్స్టాండ్ షంట్ ఆపరేషన్స్ అవన్నీ ఉంటాయి. రైట్, థ్యాంక్ యూ.
థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్.
ఓకే, థ్యాంక్ యూ. Again.